Let it not be said that Nintendo was ever a master at quipping its titles, and the Mario series has to be the D- student of the class with Nintendo's clinical sequel names. Super Mario 3D Land, New Super Mario Bros. Wii, and now New Super Mario Bros. 2, which as a title I'm completely fine with. Super Mario Bros. 2 was such a bizarre turnaway from the game that made the series originally famous that it can be retconned and burned out of existence for all I care. Maybe not immediately flamethrowered like Sunshine should be, but you know. So, since the title is a cop-out, you should know the drill by now. The game starts with Mario and Princess Peach trying to or in the middle of throwing a party, and they immediately get kidnapped by whoever the antagonist is. Thankfully, it's the Koopaling's turn this time, and Mario's at least there at the kidnapping this time to try and help out. Because as the series has established in the past, it's not like Peach's castle has guards, or defenses, or, people running around. If you want to rule the world, you can just walk through the fucking front door if you please, but this is a game from the Mario 2D platformer series, so you shouldn't be expecting much more than a one-word document page worth of dialogue. No, we're here for the levels, and thank Christ that Nintendo got a break from their loony pill stash and ear-fingering addiction to get back to the drawing board and actually make a platformer instead of a gimmick-riddled Nintendo's monster of a tech demo. The true irony is that if you turn on the 3D in this game, it actually makes the backgrounds of the game blurrier, so you actually get better graphics of the game with the 3DS's core gimmick turned off. Don't feel too bad for old Uncle Nintendo though, since they are able to turn on their heels and sell you the Nintendo 2DS XL this Christmas season for the massive small child dollar. Otherwise, if you couldn't tell from the short rumors about this game, the general internet consensus, and the damn box art, the game's core gimmick is ripped from our old dear friend Comrade Wario, where Mario wants to own all the money in the world. Oh, and save the princess again, if he can find the time. The game's tagline is that the player needs to collect 1 million coins to collect into a massive online community treasure pile that will do something, somehow, for a reason, or potatoes. I think Nintendo forgot that people seriously stopped crying out for high score tables and point earning sometime around the SNES's demise, so trying to drum up that crowd was an out-of-touch move. But then again, Nintendo's HQ is located on the dark side of the moon, so maybe that's something I should have expected. Yes, grab all the money that you can. The massive problem with this idea is that Nintendo is a stickler for traditional design, and guess what one of Mario's traditions is? The 100 coin extra life thing, and considering that you can grab a minimum of 40 coins just by standing in place thanks to the 500 second level timers by netting the incredibly common coin blockhead ability, you can definitely see how I ended up with 150 lives in my pocket by the end of World Star. Hell, I had so many extra Marios running around my house at that point that I briefly saw them forming a cult over their existential crisis. I don't know what happened after they grabbed their roads, but it's been a few hours. I should probably check on them after I'm done with this video. Anyway, it was a halfway decent idea that could have done something if Nintendo had bothered to tie it to the gameplay or incorporated it as a mechanic, or, I don't know, just having it do something other than just sitting there and being a pointless number on the hub world map. The coin flower power-up, that's about as rare as the Mega Mushroom from New Super Mario Bros., completely breaks the difficulty over the game's head, because you can get at least 500 coins from that one before the level ends, and you're forced to hand it over to the Mushroom Kingdom gods. But in spite of the continued uselessness of Mario's life system, the game does manage to be a fun amount of challenge. Nintendo was definitely leaning more towards Brothers Wii in this development than 3D Land because the levels are interesting, the graphics are great since they were ripped straight from the Wii platformer, and you've got the usual themes: forest, desert, water, fire, etc., etc. It's a fun old time. The game isn't designed revolutionarily, but you'll get your money out of the game now. Not when it was first sold, since $40 for New Super Mario Bros. 2 just feels inherently evil coming out of my mouth. The odd loss of the sequel is that the boss fights aren't fun in almost all cases. The Koopalings are universally boring enemies to kill, and when you remember their show-offs in Brothers Wii, it's a strange case, especially since a couple of the Koopalings directly steal their tactics from that game that I just mentioned, and yet manage to be worse across the board. And that's not even mentioning that unless you are a weirdo, you probably aren't going to see 2 of the 8 Koopalings in your playthrough because once again, in horribly facepalm fashion, Nintendo decided to cut a short game's content by 25% for literally zero reason. Yep, World Mushroom and World Flower are secret entire worlds that are put off of the game's main track with no logic or reason to it. Again, I will bring up Ratchet and Clank. A platformer does have the ability to have a plot and some story to strengthen what the protagonist is doing throughout the game if you actually try, and not pop these games out like a fucking gumball machine. Especially if the only reason for doing so is because some second string jackass said at the meeting, "Hey, what if we make the same thing again, but spray paint it gold like this is some damn MGS5 shit?" It's such a weird thing to do, and Nintendo did this twice in the course of the new Mario series, and both times it makes literally no sense to section off this much content. It's at least an hour's worth of content in a game that can maybe scrounge out 5. On the other hand, in a rare twist of fate from tradition, the special world of New Brothers 2 is actually easy to get to and defeat. I ended this game beating Dry Bowser with around 150 extra Marios waiting around for something sinister to do. So it's not like you're getting that nostalgic feel of ass-kickery that Super Mario World Special gave you when you were a kid. Hell, the first of World Star feels like it's inspired by the game's first world, since it's just covered in blocks and Goombas the whole way through, and the rest of the 7 or 6 levels aren't much better, and the reward at the end is Dry Bowser, which is just a slightly more challenging reskin of the game's final boss. So, not really much of a point is there unless you need an extra 200 coins to get to the fabled million. There's not much to say about this game overall. Decent levels, fluid controls, and it feels somewhat nice to play on the original 3DS. It doesn't use any of the console's features other than its ability to play a video game. I mean, you can do the download play to do it up co-op style if you want, but that's been standard practice ever since the GBA Mario Bros. Ports. It's a fun game. It just doesn't do much to stick around after you're done with it, and it makes you wonder why you bought it in the first place for something fun to do on a month's worth of bus rides when your phone was dead. The only real thing the game's core coin collection gimmick does is absolutely destroy the difficulty curve and give a massive example to everybody in the normal world that the life system is an antiquated concept that does literally nothing to improve a video game now. The game's main power-up is the Raccoon Leaf, which is yet another random power-up that Nintendo took from its previous games and stuck on literally everything, whereas their new Coin Flower power-up is found maybe 4 times through a normal playthrough. Yeah, New Super Mario Bros. 2 is just a really good platformer game that manages to be fun in spite of being insultingly easy to play, and beyond the typical traditional strokes of the series, it doesn't do much of anything. It doesn't add any new gameplay types, it doesn't add any new level types, it doesn't even have a fucking good story. Let's just leave it at that. Good night, everybody. I'll see you next time for something from our Horrors Beyond Comprehension closet. Oh, and make sure to stop by and pick up your Victory for Gamers stickers on the way out. See y'all later!